Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme. This is going to be the part 2 of the episode 6 that I was just doing. Where I'm going to be talking about Michael Jackson's relationships and how they developed. Where did they develop from? So, I was talking about the Diana Ross in the beginning. That Diana Ross would have informed Michael that she's his mother. She informs him of the situation of what had occurred, the reasons. She informs him of the reasons. And the reasons is the outcome of the reasons is that this had to happen or else we couldn't have been famous. And you're talking about Smokey Robinson and Berry Gordy and all of Motown. I heard too that Berry Gordy personally, I think he managed her. There was a major supervision that was going on. The only 2 bands that he ever actually really did that with was Supremes and the Jackson 5. You know, so there's that connection. Why is he so in control, directly in control of those bands? Because he's not worried about Smokey. Him and Smokey are tight. Smokey was named vice president of Motown, which means that Smokey's drawing paycheck off of the company, not just personally off of the things that he's doing, like the writing and his singing and stuff. He's now actually drawing an income off of the money generated from the company. He's actually an employee on a different level now. So, and then Smokey Robinson, his first 2 children's names are Tamla and Barry, to show how dedicated he is to Berry Gordy and to that time with the Tamla Records, how important that time was. His first 2 known children, that's their names. So, Diana Ross, she tells Michael Jackson, and they've got to keep this secret. So, Michael Jackson, at that time, his brothers are all older than him, and as they become stars, the brothers are instantly having all the attention from the women. So now Michael has this secret, and now he knows that he's been affected directly because of a young love relationship that kind of didn't go right, and they had to give their child away because it wasn't the right time and stuff. And he's the one now being affected because of that. And now he's dealing with emotions like Diana. She doesn't understand what Joe's actually doing to Michael. So when Diana does this to Michael, she doesn't understand what Michael now is like going, oh, and Joe's been doing this all to me, and I'm not even his kid, and I've been dealing with this, and now Diana's gone, and I'm back here with Joe, and here we are dealing with everything again. Joe's in control, and there's nothing Michael can do about it, and Michael has to please everybody. You know, that it must have been so difficult, that situation. It's just incredibly difficult. I just can't imagine. And Diana is constantly, she's trying to be around him as much as she can, but Michael's part of the Jackson 5. He's working. He's a working man. He's a kid, but he's a working man. He's out there working hard. So Michael sees his brothers in relationships, and he sees everything that's going on. Michael's also be getting women coming at him at a young age, and that's where he would have learned also how to say no to a woman, because he would have been having a lot of attraction, a lot of women coming at him, but because he's got the Diana thing, he doesn't know exactly how to handle all these things. So for him, he's developing the ability to push women away. And where he starts to go then with his interest is he puts his interest into his art, and he starts to develop as an artist. And this is where this is also where he learns that the one place where Michael is always learns that people treat him with respect and always give him the attention that he really likes is where the only thing that's working for is when he's performing. When he's performing, he loves that attention. People love him. People respect him. This is good for him because he's not getting that in anywhere else in his life. So this is where he starts to really develop as an artist, and he's trying to be the greatest artist. He likes the attention from the fans, but he has to please Joe, and he's responsible for his brothers because those are his brothers. That's the family he grew up with. Whether they turn out to be their blood relatives or not, that's still his family, and that's his brothers. He loves them. That's his family. But so, as Michael starts to develop, Michael starts to hang out with, he's not spending his time with women. He's not chasing women. Michael's has opportunity to hang out with the greatest performers that have ever lived, that are alive at this time. These people that have had phenomenal careers for a long, long time. Michael can hang out with these people now. He can talk to them, and they like him too, because this kid's got talent. Everybody that knows anything about Michael, when you see him, it's like that kid has got talent. And as he developed too, the guy has got talent. The guy always had talent, because his parents, it's not this crazy God-given thing. His mother is Diana Ross. His father is Smokey Robinson. That is where Michael Jackson gets his genius talent from. His parents are both extremely gifted on very high level. Michael got all of it. He was lucky. Then Joe Jackson nurtured all of that too. Joe Jackson trained Michael hard, put him to work hard. Michael was getting seasoned. By the time Michael comes into Motown, he's a seasoned performer. He's a legitimate act, he's legitimate. If Motown wasn't around, the Jacksons, because Michael was so gifted, I agree too that they would have made it on their own without Motown. There would have been different songs, and there always would have been a different course of history as that would go. But they would have made it. And that's another thing too with all the songs. If Michael doesn't have all the pain of the Diana situation, and Michael then pulls back and puts all of his energy into his music to become the great artist he is, and spending the time, instead of going and chasing the women, he's spending time with the greatest artists of all time. This is how he develops to become the king of pop, the Michael Jackson, this phenomenal performer that we all know him, who produced so many songs, So he did that. He worked at that. He had to hone his craft. Even though you're super talented, you've got to work at your craft, and that's what Michael did. He worked at his craft because that's where all of the people liking him and everything, where the pleasures were going to come from, people saying, oh, we love you, you're the greatest, And that's how Diana would have pushed him also, saying, you're going to have a chance that you wouldn't have had this chance if I would have just kept you and I would have got a job. We would have became number of people. We never would have had these opportunities. So she would have pushed that on him, that these opportunities were worth it, that we had to make this hard choices, but it was worth it. And Michael agreed to it. In the end, he there was nothing he could do. At the time when he's young, he's so committed at that time, he doesn't know exactly how to handle the situation. So Michael's going to do it. So in the Motown, I want to just mention quick with the Motown, when he does bring him in, because the way I think it happened is that I know that Gladys Knight was the first one, from the way I understand, she was the first one that had seen, the first known person who had seen the Jacksons, and I do believe she was with the Motown at that time, the Gladys Knight and the Pips. So she saw them working out. It might have been in Chicago there at the Regal Theater. I know that that's eventually at the big thing with the Bobby Taylor where it goes on. But so somewhere in there, she actually had made a call to somewhere at Motown, notified him of the Jacksons, but she didn't get any response from anybody. Nobody had said anything about anything. So then later on, she tells the Bobby Taylor, and the Bobby Taylor, because I was seeing the thing too, there's the thing about the Shy Lights thing, who was telling them. So there's the thing at the Regal Theater in Chicago, and when I try and look into it, I always find another little piece and another little piece of information, and it's like you think you understand exactly what's happening, you never exactly, and who's actually involved. And when I find out, there's always a lot of people involved actually. And the Jacksons were legitimate performance before they came to Motown. They were working in the scene with other legitimate performance, but so they get taken into Motown. But at that point, I do think that Berry Gordy had mentioned to Bobby Taylor. I think he would have said, I want you to check this kid out. He wouldn't have told him the story. He wants to see, Bobby, check this kid out and tell me if the kid is good. And Bobby Taylor then brought him into the house and worked him. I heard him saying how he was working him all day, how Michael worked so hard. And Bobby then said to Michael, I will take you to Motown and I will get you signed. So how does Bobby Taylor have that kind of authority? does he have that kind of authority with Motown and stuff? It's kind of hard to say, but he did, and he became a producer on the Jacksons' albums and stuff. Bobby Taylor worked with them. He was a major part and one of Michael Jackson's best friends and everything. So I wanted to get into this other part of this Michael Jackson's relationship. There was this recording where it's Michael talking to this woman, Glinda, and I guess she had secretly recorded him. And so Michael's talking about his relationships. He's really getting into it in this phone call and stuff. And so one of the things he says, I want to know what a relationship is all about before I die. Michael says, I've never had. I mean, I've been with Tate. I've been with Tate. I thought I was with Diana. It was just in my own mind. So he's saying the Tate relationship is Tatum O'Neal. He's saying there's a form of a real relationship there, because he's stating also in this later that he's buying her cars and houses, jewelry, crazy stuff like that. But saying then that she's running around cheating on him. And it's like, well, she's cheating on him because they're not having sex. They don't have a real relationship in that way. She knows what a real relationship was. She's messing around with Michael Jackson. She was willing to have a relationship with Michael Jackson, but Michael Jackson was not willing to go there with her. Michael Jackson loved being with her, loved to give her gifts, and that was, to Michael, a relationship. But that's not a real relationship. And later on, as Michael's talking about, like in this story, he realizes that. And with the Diana, when he's saying he's in a relationship with Diana, she's the first one who's saying, I love you. She's the first woman. And remember, it's tricky because he's not raised with her, so it's not going to be the same emotions as the mother that you're raised with. And she's a big star. There's a weird thing that's between these two that's acceptable when you understand how their relationship developed, that you might not actually see between a natural mother and son, but between them, plus they're big stars. So there's just the weird, the way they interact together is much differently. And even when he goes on to say marry her, the way like in the Oprah interview, when he jokes about marrying Elizabeth Taylor, oh, I want to marry her. There's a thing about the way he's doing that. He's saying to the woman to flatter them. He is flattering them. Oh, I want to marry them. There's a way about that. By saying that, he's flattering them and acknowledging their beauty and their being desired. That's what he's doing with them. It's a little just game that he's playing with them. It's flirting. It is straight flirting. And when Michael's doing it with Diana Ross, he does flirt with her because, like I said, their relationship is different. They do flirt with each other. There's a thing where she's always saying, you're so sexy, because she wants to boost his ego. She screwed him over bad, and she's constantly trying to feed his ego, and she's trying to pump him up to make him feel, to compensate for the things where she neglected him before. And that's how she's compensating that way. And then so he sees her doing that, so he comes back and he has that kind of talk with her too. And that's why you get with them these outlandish statements where he is saying, I'll marry her. To the point, most of the time with him, it's him just being complimentary and being in an interview with a person to the public, just kind of spinning the story out there, just putting it out there. But then there is a point where, even how outlandish it be, I wouldn't have doubted that Michael, as a PR stunt, would have actually married Diana, because their relationship was such it was so covered up and nobody actually understood. If that had happened, it's something that possibly on his part, I think he actually was capable of pulling that kind of fraud. That's how bad he was and messed up on certain parts, where Diana would have not had any of that, because Diana's living in the real world. Diana has real relationships. Diana has a family. Diana has children from multiple marriages. So Diana, the other thing about Diana is that I wanted to mention is that her first child, the Rhonda Ross, she doesn't tell her till she's 13 years old. So this shows another thing with Diana, where she's capable of lying to somebody directly in her family about such a significant thing. I got to go right now. We'll come back again. Thank you.